Hi, and welcome to Planning for a Landscape. What we've started to do right here in class, we're starting to work towards creating different sorts of thumbnails. I'm using a resource from the Art of Education, which is a really great resource if you're not familiar with it. But we looked at the work of a few different artists, Leslie Frenz, Grant Wood, and Ziquan Zan. 6th century China. The other two are American painters. So our vocabulary that we're really checking out here, we're going to be looking for in your landscape, foreground, middle ground, background, horizon line, texture and space. So we'll talk about those in just a minute. But let's also talk about what different kinds of landscapes. We know a landscape is a picture of land, but let's look, could it be a seascape? Have mountains in it, a mountainscape, desertscape, oceanscape, Midwest landscape. I'm thinking more like rolling hills, maybe some fields, cityscape. I think I'm going to eliminate that one because we don't want much human intervention. We want it to more, we want the land to be the star of the show. So, for example, what we're going to look for, so these are our thumbnails. This is kind of our planning thumbnails for landscape. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put our name on there. And then you're going to put your own code on there as well. So we've got some of these little boxes here. Here's something to really think about. When we're talking about a landscape, I'm going to just lightly sketch those in. We know that a line that separates the ground and the sky, that's called a horizon line. If we've got multiple horizon lines, that starts to show near and far. This would be considered the foreground, middle ground, and background. Okay, now if I were just to leave like those areas of land plain and flat like that, it wouldn't, I mean, it would be kind of boring. Let's be honest. So if I start to add in maybe a little bit more definition, we know that lying water lays flat. So check this out. If I start to kind of play with some texture in the front, remember the foreground, things are bigger. As things recede into the distance, they become smaller. We also know that things in the foreground tend to be darker. So I might smudge this to make it a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. Now, I might put some waves and they get smaller as they go into the distance. Okay, so we've got the start of kind of a landscape, but let's learn just a few kind of tips and tricks for as we do this, because when land, let's think about like a Midwest landscape. Check this out. That's almost like I've got like different fields, right? Things that are growing. If I can include different textures. Okay. Now, as we start to talk about landscapes, it's hard not to talk about this word, cliche. Cliche is a word that kind of talks about things that are overdone, overused. So, for example, if I were to show you something like this, you would know that's yeah, it's the sun. Now, does the sun actually have lines that comes out of it? Nope. And because of that, I want you to think about how you might be able to show it in a slightly different way. So let's say I do like maybe more of a desert scape. Okay, I've got kind of a plateau right here. So I'm going to make this a little bit darker here, a little bit lighter in between. And then in this spot, and we even call this the rule of thirds, when we divide a picture vertically and horizontally into thirds, where those lines intersect, that's called a sweet spot. So watch this. If I just even have like lines that radiate from there, you can actually see that that more signifies as like a glowing kind of orb of light in the sky. Big ball of gas in the sky. Now, I'm going to teach you one other little trick here. Okay, so if we've got our horizon line here, if we start to show something called a vanishing point in the distance, watch what happens. Okay, so this could be a road. It could be maybe a stream, right? So let me just even like right now, so darker in the foreground and lighter as it gets to the back. Okay, let me think a little bit more. Maybe I could put even some tufts of texture, right? Because it looks a little bit odd if I just have this plain, right? Okay, could I put another horizon line back there? Yes, I could. Okay, make it look a little bit interesting. Now, here's what's cool about this one. If you look at the Mona Lisa, like just even in our room, right, on the left and on the right. On the left, he's got a road. On the right, he's got a stream. So this idea of a horizon line is used all the time. It's a pretty constant, and you can have lots of variations. You could start it a little bit more off to the side, but make sure that those lines are together. Don't have them apart, because if I had them apart and went down, look at it. It almost looks like the road is like coming up and ready to like hit you in the face. So make sure that you don't do that. Make sure that you've got those lines together. If you want some of those rolling fields, remember my job is to show you a variety of different ways of doing things. Let's build this toolbox. I'm going to put those lines closer together because why? Right, because they're a little bit farther away. These are these are farther apart because it's near me. These are farther together because they're farther away. Okay, I might put in a little bit more texture here. Okay, now, so we've got a couple different ideas right here. Last thing I'm going to leave you with, trees. Now, we've kind of talked about lollipop trees in the past. We've talked about, oh my gosh, my all-time favorite. Kids always draw this on trees. What's that? What are those? Right, they're apples. Okay, wait for it. What is this? Right, an owl hole, right? Because all trees have owl holes, right? Nope, not really. But okay, that's a symbol. We would call that a symbol, or we would actually call it a schema, because it's something that we, over time, have come to do. Same thing like that. What's that? It's a V bird, of course. Now, do all birds look like that? No. It's just a symbol for how we show it. So, here's what I'd like for you to do. We're going to get into the details of this landscape, but consider how lights and darks, the values, consider how the texture is used in your landscape. Think about how you use distance or space. Okay, so multiple horizon lines. How might that add to the quality of your work? So I wish you the best and good luck with those landscapes.